to make sure that you have gone over to foldupgames.com/class. And this will be your web page where we're having class. Everything we do in the class, we're going to load up to the website here, and you'll be able to get what's coming up on your next class or some essentials in here. I hope you watch this really killer video because it's a lot of excitement going on there, and it'll show you a lot of things that people are doing with Game Maker who are really pushing it. So it'll give you a sense of what we're going to be able to do eventually, not in this class period. A lot of people who are in the showcase are in there because they're really rocking it, of course. So, but it will give you an idea of what is possible with the software. There are a lot of other software packages out there for game development, and they're kind of like meh. You know, they do one thing. It's not that big of a deal. So this one, Game Maker, is really awesome, I think, because when you start out with using the software, it knows exactly one thing, and that is that you're going to make a game. It doesn't say we're going to make an RPG game. It doesn't say we're going to make a platform game. It doesn't say, oh, this is, you know, you plug in what you're able to do in your little arcade game. It just knows you're able to make a game. And that's actually really cool, because systems that are, say, there's one that's fairly popular, RPG Maker, it only lets you make an RPG. That's it. You can't make anything else. Some other tools I've tried, Construct, Game Salad, some of them get to where they're holding your hand a little bit too much, and they actually make things harder for you because they don't give you the flexibility that you need to develop what you want to do. You know what I'm saying? When you're working with Game Maker, it kind of holds your hand at first, and we're going to do that in class. I want to let you know what we're going to do over the class period. We are going to start out with drag and drop coding. It's graphical, it's visual, it's really easy to learn, and then we are going to move into actually writing code. Don't be afraid of it. Anybody out there saying, I'm afraid of writing code, are you going to make me write code? Hit me up on chat. Don't worry about it. We are going to ease into it. We're not going to just say, hey, class 1, start writing code, you know, X and Y and all that. The other advantage of Game Maker over just coding engines such as C++ is just a coding language, C#. They don't have anything to help you at all. Game Maker is at least trying to help you make a game. C#, you've got to code everything. You've got to code everything. And Game Maker has you a lot of tools right out of the box, ready to go. All right, so in the class, we're also going to have my darling wife, Miss Elizabeth Little, will be our teacher's assistant. We're required to have one of the parents in the class. The other person we're going to have in class, this will be next week when we're live together, we're going to have Mr. Ethan Little. I want to give a big shout out to Ethan. It's his birthday today. Can we get a what? Yay! He's 17 today. Ethan also knows Game Maker very well, and I twisted his arm and begged him to come help in the class, so he's finally agreed to do it, or else I'll ground him. But he knows Game Maker very well, probably as well as me. If he knows it better, I wouldn't admit it. He's right behind me, isn't he? What? All right, Mandy, does coding work on here? Oh, on chat. I don't know about that. All right, let's jump over to Game Maker. Do you guys have Game Maker on your computers? Let's go ahead and fire it up, and we're going to switch over to it. One of the things that we're going to do in class today is we're going to go over this interface as a whole to get you up and running, so that you're going to feel like you've got a little more confidence in how to get up and moving with it. I know a few of you have already used Game Maker. Do we have anybody on chat out here who have already used Game Maker? Let me know in chat if you have already. I don't know if we've got any of the Physics on here. I know some of them have used Game Maker already. If you have, we're going to start out really slow for the entire class, so you're going to be ahead of us for a little bit, but I do expect we're going to catch up to where you are at. The other great thing that you're going to get is a lot of class interaction, and I think that's going to be very helpful, even if you have done some game development before, or you've even used Game Maker before. The class interaction is going to be great. So we're going to start out here. You're going to be bored for a minute, though. But for the rest of you, do fire up Game Maker. And if you haven't, just take a look at my screen. By the way, if your stream is going really slow right now, or it looks, I'm sorry, if your stream looks like garbage, it looks all muddled, it should not. Hit on YouTube in the bottom lower right corner, there's a little gear icon. and go ahead and hit that and increase your quality. It might have defaulted you to 144. I'm actually broadcasting at a higher resolution than that. So you can kick up your stream resolution up to 720 and it should be looking fine. Okay, and Jared, I see your question on there on Youth Digital. I don't know what that one is, so cool. And reminder for those of you just joining, I do have about a 10-second delay from what I'm saying and what I'm creating on screen to where it's updating. Chat is live and fast, so if there's a little disconnect, that's why. Okay, over on Game Maker, let's take a look at the interface really quick, and I don't want to belabor this. I do want you guys to take some time on your own later on and look at this. I know it's a snow day. Hey, snow day. Homeschool kids never get snow days, do they? And I did want to tell you, by the way, your teacher, Mr. Little here, is a homeschool kid. That's right, I understand. I started homeschooling when I was about 11 and went all the way through high school. So, pretty cool, huh? That's right, you can say I'm cool. So the stuff we need is up here. We don't need all of these tools at the top. At the top left, it's a new project. If you haven't created a new project, go ahead and create a new project. It's really easy. Make a folder somewhere on your system that's going to be for your games projects. Call it your, games folder. I've got a folder. I use OneDrive. I do like having a cloud drive system. If you guys took Miss Elizabeth's computer class, you know about some cloud drive systems. OneDrive under Microsoft Dropbox is another good one. It's great to be able to have a cloud drive system so that you can actually share your files across the internet. Okay, don't worry if your Game Maker version looks different. I changed my appearance. It's probably, yours is probably black. And Timmy's used Game Maker a little bit too. That's under your edit, under preferences, file preferences, and you can change your skin on here somewhere. Oh, there it is. Thank you, Ethan. Select a skin. You will have to restart Game Maker. GM Green, GM HTML5, GM8. I think I'm under the GM8 version. I like the old school light white version, but whatever's cool with you, you go ahead with that. So you can start a new file, open a file, save your file. This is one that you're going to want to use a lot after you get your game up and running and you're ready to execute it. You can create a standalone executable. Like here, it's in Windows mode over here. You have to buy other export modules. I have purchased the Android export module and the Game Maker Pro. For you, you're going to have the Windows executable module, so you can hit that button right there. And if you have a game running, it'll go ahead and set up a exe so that you can share it. The cool thing about Game Maker is that you can hit this play button at any time you're working and start creating stuff. So, I mean, you do that all the time. You're prototyping really fast. People who make even more professional games. One of the more professional software being Unity, and it's a little bit harder to learn. If you did want to get into more serious game programming, that's a good direction to go in, getting into Unity. Miss, how are you lost already? We haven't done anything. So so you can hit play and prototype it anytime you want to. So you can make a change, hit play, make a change, hit play, and it's pretty easy. You've lost your, hold on. Have you lost your video stream? That's fine. Okay, so we're going to carry on here. So across the top here, we've got the play. Don't worry about the run debugging mode. Stop is to stop your game. You usually don't even need that. Cleanup, don't worry about that. These are some of the guys that you want to pay attention to right here. This one is to create a new sprite, and that would be a picture that goes along. Turn your volume up here. I'm really close to my microphone. I can't speak any louder. Let me see if I can hit my volume control. No, I've got it maxed out right now. Can't get it to open. All right, well, if you can't get Game Maker up and running, just watch on my screen what I'm doing. So I'll let you guys handle chat over here. Just watch on my screen then if you haven't gotten Game Maker, and we'll talk a little bit more later on. You should be able to download it from the Yo-Yo Games website onto your PC and get the activation code in your mail. Obviously, that's going to be important for class. Carrying on. All right, so Sprite Editor, adding sound, adding backgrounds. These are the guys you're going to want to use. We do have paths. Don't worry about that one right now. We have scripts. Don't worry about that right now. Fonts, you're probably going to want that. Timelines, don't worry about that. Objects, you're also going to want objects. Objects are something you're going to use all the time. And rooms, we're going to use rooms all the time. So what we're going to do in here, if you notice on the sidebar here, it's got a folder pre-created for everything. Mandy, I'm talking really close to the mic and I've got my volume up here. Check one, check one. Yeah, it's spiking up really high. On my end, I'm getting a really good solid level. So, yeah, I don't know what's up with on your end. Maybe some headphones. So what we've got is a set of folders already for each of those things. The ones that you're going to want to use right off the bat is going to be the objects, the rooms, and the sprites. GameMaker works on the basis of object-based coding. It's really easy. Instead of just being presented with an empty, notepad type interface where you have to type everything all the time, GameMaker gives you an object-based coding. So go ahead and we'll hit object, and you can create a new object in here, and this is where you're going to be working a lot. This is where all of your work is happening, right in this system. All right, y'all, let me see if I can help out on audio here. I am right up on the thing if I'm talking right into it. Can you hear me now? This is a test of the emergency broadcasting system. After a 10-second delay, you will be able to respond to me and tell me if you can hear me here. It's kind of funny because I'm sitting here waiting and watching you guys on chat to catch up with what I just said. I'm going to attempt to hold. Yeah, I'm getting great levels on my end, so I don't know what's up with the audio there. But I have to keep going for the rest of the class here at any rate. So where was I? See, now I'm completely derailed. So on the object-based coding, this is where all the action happens. All of the actual programming in GameMaker happens in an object. And we will have the video will automatically be saved by YouTube to the channel afterwards, so you guys can replay it as well. So in objects, we've got events and we've got actions. You have to have an event to have an action. Have you guys ever looked at computer programming or the idea where it says if then? You ever heard that one? If then, if I get a keyboard input of a space bar, then explode something, that kind of thing. That's what this is really. So events is where it starts out. This is so easy. This is so easy. We're just going to hit add event, and this is where all the action of the game happens. The create event is when this object is created on screen, when the object has a mouse action, when it's destroyed, some other thing happens. An alarm is really great. It's a timer, it's a delay. A draw event, it draws itself all the time. Step events we use a lot. Step events happen constantly. Click, 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 click. Just go, 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 go. Key press, that literally means on keyboard pressing down. On collision, that means it's contacted another object. On key release, that means you've let go of the key. Mind you, those are two different things, and you're thinking, okay, what's the difference? One's a key press, one's a key release. Those are important to another topic. It's the feel of the game. If you've got a guy running and jumping and shooting and doing whatever else he's doing, what does it feel like to the player? Because a lot of times you want something to respond as soon as you press the button down, or another when you release. And I'm thinking like jump, for example. When you hit the jump button, you don't want to have your character jump after you let go of the button. You want him to jump as soon as you hit it. Otherwise, you'll feel like there's a delay, right? So that's why we have the difference between a key press and a key release. The other one is a keyboard, and that is a continuous keyboard. It's down. You use that with things like running back and forth, left, right, up, down, and you want to hold that down for keyboard. All right, next let's look at rooms. I'm going to add a room up here at the top. You see that little button there by the blue ball? If you can't see on your own local system, go ahead and look on my screen. Your system may be a tiny bit different. It should have most of the tools, and we'll look at them together in class. If you've got a laptop especially, we'll look at it. Otherwise, we'll look here. I do have GameMaker Pro, but it has all the same stuff. It just limits you on the number of objects you can run. A room is where your game actually takes place. You can have lots and lots and lots and lots of rooms. So in this room, we'll hit the settings button, and just for fun, I'm going to change the dimensions of the room here. We'll make it like a 640 by 480. There we go. So it's a small room. And you'll see the speed 30, that's the actual frames per second of your room. That doesn't need to be adjusted unless you just feel like speeding up or slowing down your game. Modern games are running at 60 frames per second. Slower games, say you might want to do something on mobile and run it slower so it won't run as sharp and fast, but it might not take as much processing power, so you might slow it down to say 15 frames per second. But for us, we don't have to worry about that. We'll just keep it at 30 for right now. So this is where your objects actually go into the room. Let's go ahead and take this object here, and we'll call it something. Let's go ahead and we'll make something with it. And I'm calling that obj.obj_dot. When you're making objects, be sure to start them out with an O or an obj underscore or something. Most people do obj underscore, but as long as you're consistent with it, the reason is because we also have sprites. We're going to make a sprite, and we're going to call it sprite dot. SPR dot, right? And we'll hit edit sprite, and we'll make a new sprite. And let's make them a big one. If you're following along at home or just watching, this is the same behaviors that you're going to go through to make a game all the time, no matter what you're doing, and it's so easy. We're in here in the sprite editor, and we'll look at this more in depth at another time, or you can look at it some on your own time. This is basically like, you know, MS Paint. It is not rocket surgery, you know what I mean? My dot has a highlight. There he is. So I'm going to hit the center button. Now the origin is where the corner of it is, and I'll center it up, and we'll talk about that in a second. Let's open up that object I created, and we're going to give it a sprite. So now the object doesn't need coding. The object doesn't need coding. It can't. I'm sorry. The object doesn't need a sprite. Well, I guess it doesn't need coding. You could just have an object that just has a sprite. Your object doesn't need to have a sprite associated with it. It can be pure coding, is what I was trying to say. But most of the time, your object does have a sprite so that you can see it. So there we go. We're going to hit the room. We'll hit objects, and look, we're going to click. There's an object. There's that dot we created. Isn't that exciting? This is actually a game right now. I'll prove it to you, because it doesn't gripe at me like it did before. We can actually run the game, and let me tell you what, we just created the most exciting game ever. I like to call it dot on screen. If you stare at it long enough, it does nothing. So we're going to go back over to the object dot, and I'm going to show you how object-based, graphical-based coding works. We're going to go to the events that I told you about, add event, on create, and we'll go up here. Let's just make it do something. We'll grab this move, and we'll drag it in. Look at that. We're going to move down at a speed of 1, and now it's going to do something. This is the most exciting game ever. This is the, I tell you what, I get chills. Look, oh my gosh, there it goes. Come on, y'all. Look at that. It's moving across the screen. Wasn't that exciting? Wasn't that thrilling? Let's add another event. An event will be on mouse. We'll do on left release. That means when we let go of the button. On left released, what are we going to do? How about we destroy self? This is getting thrilling right now, guys. This is as exciting as it gets. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Wow. I got chills. Did you get chills? I'm going to type in a little bit of code here. Don't freak out. Now, an object on the screen is called an instance. It's called an instance because the object itself is the original source that has all of the code on it. Anything that you change in this original source, this original object, will be reflected out there in the world. And I can put multiple versions of that dot out here on screen like I am right now. And these are instances. They're copies. They're duplicates of the original dot. Okay? So this is where it gets thrilling. Okay, did you guys say the video held up? No! I'll pause for a second here and let the video catch up. Also, I'm going to sip my coffee. Are you guys back? Okay, we'll go ahead. I was worried somebody had the thing freeze. Again, 10-second delay, so sorry I'm a little behind on chat versus live here. You guys will catch up 10 seconds after I've seen your chat. I'm going to go ahead and hit play. And we're going to run, again, the most exciting game ever. They're all running at different speeds because of the code. And as you can see, I was able to get them all. Isn't that exciting? Isn't that thrilling? I know the game itself isn't all that exciting, but what is exciting is that just that easily I had a game moving on screen. Do you see how long that took me? Practically no time at all to get that game up and moving, and it was so absurdly easy. I was able to create a room, I was able to create code, I was able to create action and get it up and moving, and I barely wrote any code at all. There's a tiny line of code here, and that's all right. We can talk about that. And the neat thing is that as we learn more about GameMaker, you can start introducing lines of code into what you're creating, and I can help you with that. We're not going to shy away from code in the class. Code is your friend. If you're at home right now, I want you to repeat it with me. Say, code is my friend. Type it on screen so you believe it. Type it into chat. Code is my friend. Exploding ball! I know, Ryan, we can make the ball explode too. The cool thing is, speaking of that, we could actually, on click, instead of just have it destroy, imagine if we were to take that and replace it with an object that has an animation to it, right? So you would have it exploding on screen. We can add score as well, so pretty darned exciting. If you're trying to follow along at home, I'm going to tell you what that code is I just wrote here. Instead of giving a speed going down of 1, I wrote random underscore range, and then in parentheses I put the range that we want to go through. It can go between a range of 1, 5. I'll kick that up and I'll show you what I mean. Little bit of code. We're still doing graphical drag and drop coding, but I introduced a little bit of code to make it a little bit more snazzy. Code is my friend. See there? Look at that. Oh, I almost missed one. So now, as you might imagine, you can add score to this, and we could add a system whereby if there are no more dots on screen, if all the balls have been destroyed, we go ahead and start a new room. Okay? And we could increase the speed of everything. That'll get a little bit more fancy pants because we'll start adding variables and we'll have it say, kick up the speed every time the room restarts. But as you can see, that can get exciting really quick. The whole thing can really start to build up and the game can really start to turn into something. The next thing we could do, we could add some solid objects at the bottom of this, so that the balls will bounce against them. We could have the balls coming from any which direction. We could have it randomly creating new dots outside of the screen and they just fly across screen. Right? So there you go. I hope that gave you a quick taste about how easy it is to get up and running in GameMaker. Obviously, it's a snow day from school. This is not exactly mathematics, algebra, history, or anything like this. This is game creation. So I think that you just dropped yourself into probably the most awesome class at Co-op. Can I get a what on that in chat? What? Darn it. I have to sit here and wait for you guys. Like 10 seconds later, you'll say what? And Katie, yeah, it's random_range, and you need to add parenthesis 1,5 parenthesis, or whatever you want it to be. And that's the extent of the code we're going to do today. That's it. Let's go ahead and take a look at some fundamentals of the actual space. You see, that's what I mean, Abby. Mr. Muppet, Katie. Now I get the what, and it's all delayed. I had to sit here and wait for you guys to catch up. In class, we're going to do this, and you guys are all going to yell what live. It's going to be great. So on screen, let's go ahead and jump back over. Did you guys get the website pulled up? Boom. Game Maker. I made an entire web page for you people. That's how much I care. In class, some of the things that you're going to want to have are over here on the class essentials. And one of the things that I made a while back that is just absurdly helpful. It's probably one of the most helpful things I ever made. And I've made this publicly available, is the Game Maker Compass and Grid. This explains so much about Game Maker. You don't even understand right now how much this is explaining. But we're gonna go ahead and break this down right now. And this is going to be a cheat sheet. If you want to print it, if you want to laminate it, if you want to get a tattoo of it, all of these would be appropriate actions. Do ask your parents about the tattoos in advance. Parents, if you're there at home, if your kid says they want to get a tattoo, I'm okay with that. This would be a good one. Take only 20% of what I say as fact. Take a look at this area over here in the X and Y. I'm going to jump back over to Game Maker, and we're going to look at the room space. Look down here. If you've got Game Maker up on your screen right now, go ahead and jump in it. You can see this happening live. In the bottom left, down here, you'll see that the values of X and Y change. Again, if you haven't got your resolution up enough on YouTube, do hit the gear in the bottom right and change the resolution of your display so that you can see. If I move left, see the value right now? It's 224 by 224. I'm at a corner. So I'm going to move left, and we'll see that X goes from 224. It's dropping down 128, 96, 64, 32, 0. Negative 32. Notice that I've got the grid up here is at a 32 by 32. So that's just a helper grid for me to align, and the count is going to go by that as well. So it goes 0, 32, 64, 96, 128, 160, 192. This is the extent of the mathematics that you're going to need. Hey, guys, if you're at home, cover your ears. If your parents are around, parents listen up. Students don't listen. Game Maker, at its heart, is a mathematics engine. I'm waiting for you to catch your breath. I know there was an audible gasp. No! If you throw mathematics at Game Maker, it loves it. It eats it up. It adores it. Adding, subtracting, multiplying, dividing it. It loves it. It does that stuff all the time. Now for you, you're not going to need to do a whole lot of math. A lot of times I'll have a calculator up when I'm doing things because I want to figure out exactly where I want things to go on screen. But if you know the X and Y value of stuff on your screen, you can position it exactly where you want to. So doing the X value, let's take a look over here. Whoop. Over here. The X value, this is the room. This is XY. The top left is 0, 0, and then it goes up from there in X, and Y goes up from there. Let's see, that probably lost you, so let's go back over here. If we start up here on the top left, it's 0, 0. See at the bottom left of your screen it says X 0, Y 0. If we increase the value of X, what are we doing? We're moving right. X goes up. If we decrease the value of X, we're moving left. That is how a position is plotted on screen, because then we add Y. Y is vertical. X is horizontal, back and forth, and Y is vertical, up and down. X is horizontal, back and forth. Y is vertical, up and down. Increasing the value of X means we're moving down on screen. If you notice the value of of y, pardon me, increasing the value of y means we're moving down on screen. 256, 288, 320, 352, blah, 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 all the way down. Decreasing the value of y means we're moving up. Why is that important? See what I did there? I made a joke. Why is that important? It becomes important when we want things to move in a different direction. Say we want to do a jump versus we want something to move down, right? If you want to have your character jump, what you're going to be doing is you're going to be reducing the value of y. Okay, so let's go back over to that compass and grid. Seriously, print it, laminate it, stick it to your forehead, put it on your mirror so when you brush your teeth you can just enjoy it. This right here explains what I just told you. Increasing x is right, decreasing x is left, decreasing y is up, increasing y is down. See, I repeat the idea over here. Adding to x is right, subtracting from x is left. This is a really core concept. If you can wrap your mind around that, and it's not that complicated, I'm sure you can wrap your mind around it. If you can wrap your mind around that, you are way ahead of the game. I'm sorry, I'm going to stop with the puns now. The other part of this is about angles, and that's pretty cool too. If we look back at our dot object on create, you see here, you see the little boop, 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 boop. These are all angles, right? You can compare that. Let me see if I can get them both on screen at the same time. You can actually compare that and look at that. Do you see some similarity in this little square guy over here versus this guy over here? Starting out from 0, we're increasing all the way around the circle until we do a 180. So easy. It's so easy. And GameMaker is actually trying to help you. So if we take these same dots and I just took this guy right here and I clicked all of them, it's going to be able to choose which way it's going to go. So instead of just moving down, so in order for me to be able to get this working, we'll go here. And this will be the last time. Then we'll go back and talk about the class itself. See them? There they go. We'll do it again. Boom! So it's all right. If you followed along enough so far, all I really want you to understand right now is that GameMaker is an object-based system. Objects run code. Code can be as simple as drag and drop bits of code. And they may or may not have a sprite. We could make another object and put it into the room, and that object is just for keeping score. And that one doesn't need a sprite. It'll just draw the value of your score on screen. Okay? So we have objects. Objects have got sprites. Sprites are graphics. And your objects may have a sprite associated with them so that you can see them. And all of the action of the game takes place inside this room. And all the code that you need to worry about is on individual objects. Here's a cool thing you can do. On collision with dot, we're going to freak it out. And we'll change that to all objects because they're not solid. Let's see, they'll probably bounce off each other. Let's see what happens. I don't know what's going to happen. I'm making stuff up now. So they all tend to bounce off each other. It probably happened too fast for us to see it. So if we wanted to get crazy with this, we could go ahead and add a wall object. And we'll hit edit sprite, new sprite. 64 by 64 is fine. And we'll fill it in. There we go. There we go. And we can make an object wall and associate a sprite with it, and we'll call it a solid. I know I'm going fast right now because it's not all that important. I'm just demonstrating a principle. Boom, 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 boom. Boom. See how easy this is? Boom, boom. Boom, 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 boom. Now the object of the game is going to be for them to bounce outside of the room. So we'll take that event on the dot, and it says bounce against dot, and we'll change it to collision with wall instead. And we want it to bounce against solid objects. If you recall in the wall, if you recall in the wall, I called it a solid object. So now the game thinks about it as a solid object. That's just a tag that if it considers it solid, it will try to treat it as if it's solid and you can't go through it. See, that's a little advantage that Game Maker's giving you right off the bat. It's saying, hey, I know you're making a game and games have solids, and I'm going to treat it like a solid. So it tries to help you. And we'll hit play, and they should go bouncing like crazy against the walls here. Boom, 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 boom. Boom, 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 boom. And there they all go. Except this guy who's stuck. You jerk. I destroy you. So there you go. That's how we make a game. Pretty easy, huh? Alright, sorry, I'm reading your chats over here, see if I'm missing anything. Very exciting times right there as the bouncing ball. And yes, you guys can catch this later on. It will automatically post to YouTube if you want to review any of this. Again, this is an overview. This is an introduction. I don't expect you to learn everything right now. Let's jump back, and we're going to wrap up by talking about the class in general and where we're going to be going with the class. As we say, again, hit the web page. You're going to know everything that's going on. If you don't hit the web page, you won't know what's going on. It's really that simple. Did anybody figure out my message that I sent? If game download equals 0, then class equals 1. Well, there you go. If you figured that out, you do have to download Game Maker. You have to get it up and running. If you have technical glitches, we'll see if we can sort that out. You can email me, foldupgames@gmail.com. Now, as we go forward in class, we're going to do a lot of in-game lecture time like we just did here, looking at stuff, and then we'll be able to spend time with you answering all of your questions, such as, what are we talking about, what's going on, have you seen my left shoe, stuff like that. We're also going to spend some time in class talking about good game design, like the one we just made. Is that game any fun? Well, probably not. It is fun because you just got it up and running. You got the game up and running all by yourself. It was no problem, and it was fun to see the results on screen. Now, as we start getting a little bit deeper in, our games are going to get more complicated, and as you see, I added a couple layers of complexity to that really quickly. I had the balls on screen, and then they were bouncing, and then we were clicking them. Next, I can add scoring onto it. As we go forward, you're going to have games that are going to be stuff you design. So that right there, we're going to design in class, and we'll make the same game together. As we go forward, you're going to have your own class project that's going to be your project, and it's going to be your game you're making. And we're going to do class-based projects, so everybody will agree to it. I know in one class that I know some folks were in over in Highlands Ranch. They were doing Game Maker, and they were making a tank game. Also, they took one of my platformers and were picking it apart in their class, so that was cool. They were teaching from one of my games, so very nice. If you want to check out some of my games, I will also show those to you. I have completely gotten away from the drag and drop coding at this point. I do just line coding, and it's really, really cool because drag and drop coding is a great way for you to get familiar with Game Maker and the interface and everything it does, but it also limits you. The rest of the tools are in the code, and instead of going through and clicking them one by one, you can grab them and just type them. But for the first little while in the class, we are going to stick to primarily drag and drop code, okay? So don't freak out. If you don't have a laptop, I have it right here. Use your eyeballs, do read. If you don't have a laptop, bring a USB jump drive, like the one I'm holding in my hand right now. If I had a camera, you would see me holding a USB jump drive, a USB stick. This is what it sounds like. Okay, get yourself a USB stick. You can take your entire game project and drop it onto that stick. Let's go ahead over to my projects, and I'll show you games. Here, I have got, these are all the games I've been working on. Isn't this insane? I've got a zillion games. you'll grab the folder, the whole thing, and you will drag the entire folder to your USB stick and bring it with you. Okay? Because if you want to look at what you're doing, I have to be able to see what you're doing. Alright, don't forget to save frequently. Alright guys, for homework, if you want to go ahead and look through GameMaker and familiarize yourself with the software, that's great. Another thing we're going to look at a lot is Super Mario Brothers. Super Mario Brothers is probably one of the coolest games ever made, and it teaches a lot of fundamentals about game design. And here in this video at the bottom on the class website, we have the game creator Miyamoto-san is talking about Mario Brothers Level 1-1 and what makes a great game design. So you can pick that game apart forevermore. Now we're going to start out with making games that are on the order of like Atari. Do you guys know Pong? Good old-fashioned Atari 2600. Go ask your mom. Atari 2600, like Pong, is one of those games that we're going to start out being able to make really easily. If at the end of the class you can get up to where you're making more complicated games like Mario Brothers, that will be a win. I think by that point you're going to be needing to introduce a lot more code into your games. So for those of you who are already familiar with GameMaker, I'm sorry if it's a little bit slow for you, but we will have chance in class to look at your project files. We're also going to do group projects. So think about who you want in your group. You're going to want to have some people who are comfortable with writing, blocks of code. You're going to want people to help get your sprites, your images together. You're going to want people to get sound effects and stuff together. And let me tell you this, and if you've got any parents there watching, listening, this is for them. Video game design will occupy every aspect of your mind all at once. It's really, really cool. It occupies the creative part. It occupies the intellectual part. It's got a little bit of math at this level, a lot of math if you really push it. But what it really does is forces you into logical, structured, organized thinking. I find myself obsessing over video games that I've worked on. It's crazy. I'll sit there and think about solutions, because once you figure out how to work with the system, you really start getting to the point where you're thinking about, first of all, how do I solve a technical glitch? And second of all, how do I make a game more fun? By the end of the class, we're going to start having, if I were grading you, which I'm not, I know you're like, I want an A. If I were grading you, I'd be grading you firstly on, does the game work? Is it playable or does it break? Right? We don't want your games to be unplayable, games that break. We want them to work properly. So the next level we're going to get into is it fun? And then we're going to get into, does it have a level of polish and completion? Okay? So right up front, if you use the sprite editor and your character is a green box, but the green box can move around and he's actually doing something fun, you are succeeding in the class. Okay? Here's a game I've been making for a while. I'm just showing it to you. Just so you can see a little bit more of the level of completion in a game that you can get to. And I don't expect you to have this kind of a level of polish and completion. You see, I've got a whole lot of graphics here that I've created. This is something you can do as time goes on, and you get to be better at game creation. Here's another one that I was working on, and this one uses just really super simple pixel graphics. And if you guys got onto the demo last night, some of you logged on. No, Jared logged on, and I was messing around with this one. Here's something, as you can see, all of the graphics in this one are just simple pixel art, right? You can create a lot of this without knowing coding. I don't think you can create the complete game without coding, but you see my guy running around here and doing all this stuff? You could actually create all this with the drag and drop coding. No problemo. You can create these graphics right here in the GameMaker Sprite Editor. If you're comfortable with graphics outside, whether it's 3D graphics or Photoshop or anything, do that. But take a look at this right here in GameMaker. You can make so much. Okay, so this guy is just pixels, and I set this game up intentionally to show this is what we can make of a game, you know, with just pixel art. I mean, geez, look how easy it is. I'm just drawing with dots. Easy peasy. Easy peasy. So, alright, so that's about all I've got for right now. I'm sure we have some questions. I will hang on here for about 5 minutes, but other than that, class dismissed. I wonder if the chat will stay live if I close the video. What? All right, well, I'm going to go ahead and close out the video. I hope that chat stays open. If chat closes accidentally, I will reopen it, and I'll just start a new video for that. So thanks for attending, you guys, and I look forward to seeing you all next week. If you get a chance to fiddle with GameMaker, do that. And I'll see you next week.